All right. Welcome, everybody. We are back on our regular Wednesday, 9 p.m. Ged, how's it going?
Can't believe it's here. The end.
It is over.
Of the Bad Batch. It's over.
The Bad Batch is done.
It has been probably the most interesting series that we have followed and reviewed, if I had to guess.
Yeah,
it was the most volatile. Like season 1 was so good.
Yeah.
And season 2 really struggled to find its way. And then season 3, obviously they announced that was going to be the last. They had so much to cover. I mean, we made early predictions. We're obviously going to get into those, but it's kind of weird that it's done. Like, especially with how it ended, and we're obviously going to talk about that. But it's weird. Yeah. Like it's over.
Yeah, 3 seasons. It's shorter than Rebels. It's shorter than Clone Wars. But it's like you said, it's a very interesting show that could have went in a million different directions because of the time periods covering and, strictly following clones.
Yep.
Right. So this week our episode is, what was it called?
The Cavalry's arrived.
Cavalry's arrived.
Yeah. Or here comes the Calvary or something like that.
Yeah. We pick up immediately where we left off last week. And I want to touch on something because last week I was blanking on it because I was asking why did they actually need the Jedi kids, right? Like they need Omega's blood and they need Palpatine's. We're assuming they have Palpatine's, right? Him being a superior M count to everyone, and we know Palpatine's the one who wants to live forever as his contingency plan, right? The Empire will always be safe as long as there's always a Palpatine, so to speak. And they, at the very beginning of this episode, they mention, they talk about why is there, or Echo asks, why is there kids here? And Emery says, for certain medical testing, we're needed for certain medical tests. And that's what we got out of it.
Yeah, that was it.
Again, they kind of, I think we could assume maybe some reasons. Well, I guess I'm kind of saying I'm not even really sure, right? Because I think they had everything they needed. So were there other experiments being done or not? Why exactly were the bounty hunters bringing in the children for the Empire? Do you just need more M count samples? Palpatine wants something to work before he's, hooked up to the bag and just getting drained, or who knows?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I mean, it was obviously made very clear that Omega was the key to it, but they weren't going to rest it all on one being. So I think having more of them, having them at different age groups, allowed them to learn more and more about it, right?
Yeah. So they've already established Omega was going to be the one who's breaking herself out, even though they were saving her. And it was kind of funny to see Echo make it to where she was locked up and she was already gone. And as everyone suspected last week, she unleashes the Zelo Beast, which conveniently takes out 2 battalions, destroys half the base, and leaves. So that sets up for what we'll talk about in a little bit. But one line I liked was when they're on the approach to Tantus and you hear all the screaming and the explosions, and the Zelo Beast busts out, and Hunter and Wrecker and Crosshair look at each other and they're like, was that Echo's or Omega's handiwork? And they all in unison just Omega.
Yeah.
I definitely
how do you know? Because it's exactly what I would have done. Says Echo.
Yeah. So I just over the time I just love the family dynamic between all the characters, and something they did really well, in Rebels as well, right? The Ghost Crew. So these animated shows, by kind of being really tightly focused on that group of characters, right, has paid off. And not to say it was a negative in the Clone Wars. The Clone Wars is great, but a lot of the Clone Wars was spread out and focusing on different people you might not ever see again. I felt it didn't really have that tight knit, emotional component. Yes, Anakin, Ahsoka, Obi-Wan, they were the main stars and stuff like that, but a lot of it veered off in different directions.
Yep.
So the close-knit family, I think, really works for it here. These notes are all in just crazy order, so just bear with me, everyone. First thing I want to talk about was when Echo and Omega finally get out to the shuttle. Like they're free, Scott Go, but they see everyone else captured.
Yeah.
Are you surprised no one fought Omega about staying? Like,
No, not surprised at all. She's gone from the child that they had to protect to literally part of the crew.
yeah,
Like even her language is so different in the third season. She's like, my crew is coming, my brothers are coming. Like
yeah,
she makes jokes that she's older than most of them because she's an unaltered clone.
yeah,
Like absolutely, there's a total dynamic change there. I mean, it goes from them protecting her to just not wanting to let her go. And we'll
yeah,
talk about that at the very end of the show. Obviously, we don't want to jump right into that,
yeah.
but to me, that was a massive homage to where you saw all of season 3 go. That it wasn't about protecting this kid anymore. It was empowering this person and just not wanting that to change.
Because it would have been very cliche for Echo to be like, "No, Omega, you can't go with us. The Empire wants you. You have to get out of here. That's
Yeah.
why we're here." But they
Yeah.
just Echo didn't even bother. He's just like,
Yep.
"Yep, suit up, kid. We're going to get our brothers."
Yep.
No,
No, I loved it.
Yeah. So we get the unveiling of the other agents, whatever you want to call them.
So badass.
Yeah. So
Oh.
let's focus on that a little bit. So first, they kind of when they first rolled out, they kind of reminded me of the Knights of Ren a little bit, just because I don't know,
Like
'cause
what
they're
we
using
all
all
wish
those
the Knights of
blades.
Ren would have been.
Yeah. So they
Yeah.
they work their
Not
way
like
through.
the disappointing evenings of Ren that we got in the actual
Oh,
movies.
I know.
Midsummer Night's Dream of Ren. Brutal.
Yeah. So they subdue our main characters, but like Wrecker's in rough shape, and
Yeah.
Crosshair is also in rough shape, and they cut his shaky hand off, which we'll get to.
Did you
later as
think
well.
Wrecker was going to make it?
I thought he was the way they were setting it up. I thought he was going to be the first one to die.
I thought he was done.
Yeah.
When they were trying to infiltrate Tantus, and he was struggling and needed a med pack, and he's like, "Try and
they're
stop me."
like, "We're out."
Like I saw that
Yeah.
heroic plunge. I'm actually a little, as I know this is going to sound horrible, I'm actually disappointed that at the end, Wrecker was still there. I know that sounds awful to say because everybody loves Wrecker,
Yeah.
but like he's this big brute. Like he was designed to give himself in this mission. Like of anybody else, like it should have been Wrecker. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
so he got beat up a lot, but he
Yep.
Perseveres. So Hemlock's kind of a step ahead of everyone the entire way, which I kind of like. He was kind of very Palpatine-esque in that thing. Like he kind of or very Thrawn-esque, I guess I would say.
Oh yeah.
Is anticipating all their moves. Like he knows that they were going to come back for their brothers and all that stuff.
Yep.
With the fight and stuff with them, it looked like when they killed the main dude who's been hunting him, the agent, I think it's CX2 or whatever his name was.
Yeah.
I thought they were going to like unmask him, but they never did.
Me too.
They just let him sit there.
I was waiting for them to unmask him and for Crosshair to be looking into a mirror.
Yeah, that's what I was. That's because
in my opinion,
that one skill set most
miss
against him. Yeah,
big miss, huge miss opportunity there.
Yeah, and I don't know if you
crazy miss.
I don't know if you caught this or thought this as well, but there was a lot of rumors that Tech was coming back this season. Jennifer Corbett, who's the showrunner, didn't help things because the night before the finale aired, or a couple nights ago, she said, "I don't know if I want to do a tease for the episode or drop a hint or a clue or something like that." And she's like, "Maybe I'll do both." And she did Plan 99 in quotes, and then she showed a picture of one of Daenerys' dragons. I can't remember the name. The one that dies, the White Walker wakes up, and she had a gif of the dragon's eyes opening and were blue. So everyone's like, "Oh shit!" Like someone's coming back to life, like resurrected.
Yeah.
But nothing that never ever happened. So where that's leading, one of the special agent dudes, when he got his helmet knocked off, the camera like looked in through his helmet, and I don't know if you picked up on it, but his eyelets were perfect circles.
No,
it looked just like Tech's. It would look like it was Tech's.
Interesting.
but it ended up not being it. It was just a coincidence. But like my mind was already geared. One of these dudes is tech, and when the helmet fell off, and you like literally look in the inside. If for anyone's watching, let me know if you notice the same thing too, or go back and look at it. The inside of the helmet looked just like it would have been for tech. So ended up being nothing. But I was like, oh my god, like that's gonna end up being it.
That was definitely a miss. Like I said, that you just brought up, and when the main assassin that's been hunting down Crosshair for the last 3-4 episodes, not revealing that he was a clone of Crosshair, to me is just it's a solid miss.
Yeah, it would have been cool. Like you said, to have a Crosshair versus Crosshair matchup would have been cool. So what do you think they were? Do you think they were just a special security and assassin force? I've seen this thought floating around a little bit. I don't know if there's actually any evidence for it, but could they be like an early Dark Trooper program? Because there's something like computery going on, right? They get activated, right? So, but again, they got all completely wiped out, and all the data, lab data, and all that stuff got destroyed. So, maybe that's like an early model, but yeah,
Dark Trooper's probably the safest bet.
Yeah, especially how they want to connect storylines.
But again, it was such an opportunity.
Yeah, they had even just to clarify what Hemlock was doing a little bit there. We got nothing, no confirmation at all on what the purpose, the intent, or how he made the agents. So yeah, maybe just like you don't have to tell us everything. Like at least show us a little something.
Give me a taste of it.
Yeah. Just to get people's brains going.
Yep.
What else do I got here? So the one thing I liked cinematography wise was when they got up through the mountain trying to chase down Omega when she's with Hemlock. It's pouring rain out there, and the far platform is just kind of sitting there up floating where the shuttle was docked and where the agent ship was coming down. To me, it reminded me of Camino because you couldn't see the ground. It looked like just little pods.
Great call. Yeah, I didn't even think of that until just now.
Yeah. So like the imagery to me was like, I thought it was very fitting because they started on Camino and they end on this rain-soaked elevated platforms. I thought it was neat. I don't know if that's just a coincidence or what my mind went to, but I thought that was a great look. Let's talk about cool moment. So all season long, we've been talking about the shaky hand, right? You thought it was going to be mental. He was going to get over it, and he never, ever actually got over the hand. And then they cut his shaky hand off. And then Crosshair's asked to make the shot left-handed.
The shot.
Yeah. Did you like that his left hand had no shake?
It has to be psychological. There are two things there are two things that I was right on in this, which I'm sure we're going to get to. One of them was that it was psychological. The other is part of the ending. We'll talk about that. But I love the fact that it was purely psychological. Yeah. You cut the shaky hand off and he nails the shot, and you can hear his hesitation. He's like, if I miss, I risk Omega. Such a good moment. Yeah. So good.
And I love how Hunter's like, listen, trust Omega. She like knows what she's like, follow her lead or whatever. So like, I love how like Omega's like, I don't want to say she's the leader of the pack, but she's definitely, again, that family element. Like everyone trusts each other 100%.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, it was a cool way for Hemlock to be disposed of as well.
Perfect.
Yeah. What else?
Because I was curious to know how Hemlock was gonna perish.
Yeah. Scorch, who's the One Republic commando who's been Hemlock's right-hand man, who was in I don't know, I think he was in Republic Commando as the main guy. Anyways, lots of people were expecting lots from Scorch because he's the only one that's named. He has some Legends Star Wars backstory, and he was just a glorified bodyguard. Like he took like 5 in the chest and just collapsed off the bridge. Yeah. So we didn't get much from him. Like I think some people were looking to see him finally in action. All right. So okay, let's talk about Rampart and Nalase.
Yeah.
Rampart.
Rampart's such a piece of shit. I'm just
Yeah.
gonna flat out say it.
Yeah.
Like, what an absolute piece of trash.
And he's in it for himself too. He's just like, what are they up to here? And he just wants it as leverage to get whatever he wants. Like,
Yeah.
but then kills her, but obviously she drops the thermal detonator, clears out
Oh,
everything. So that was
she
nicely cleaned up.
She
there.
literally went out in a blaze of glory. I loved it.
Yeah. And we
What
talked
a
about
great
this
way for her to, and then even just her quote, it
Yeah.
will always be Kaminoan.
Yeah. And then we talked about this. I don't know if it was this season or last season, but do we think she was the last Kaminoan?
I mean,
Like I'm assuming some could have been off world when their home world was destroyed, but like she's the only one who made it off Topeka City.
Yeah.
When the destruction was happening.
I mean, it would make sense.
Yeah. So, and if it was like what?
But then how does cloning resume?
So that's also what I want to get into.
Right? Yeah.
Well, I think so. So all the data's gone, right? Tarkin arrives and he basically says, like, there's nothing of use here. And he says, scuttle the base, right?
Yeah.
Nobody more or less said. So Yumi kind of talked about, like, by the time we get to the Rise of Skywalker, the cloning method on Exegol looks pretty crude, right?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, you're not wrong.
Yeah. So it would appear as if this destruction of Tantus and the data is a major setback for Palpatine. But the part that I'm having a hard time wrapping my brain around, or maybe let's talk this out, right?
Yeah.
Project Necromancer is alive and well in the Mandalorian verse, right? Grendel Hux is literally leading that project. So Palpatine must restart the cloning program.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got to be starting it from scratch again, you'd think. Like, Namaste is gone. The data is gone. Like, Hemlock is gone.
Yeah. They'd have to be doing it from scratch.
Is it weird that they wiped all that stuff out, like building all that up to lead to the Mandalorian and the Rise of Skywalker, and then just have this initial phase of cloning just completely wiped off the match? Isn't that kind of odd that they didn't like connect it or have a little bit survive or have Palpatine activate the backup plan? Like,
well, I mean, it makes sense. I mean, there's a reference to divert all funds to Project Stardust, which we know is the Death Star, from the movie Rogue One, and we know that the plans for the Death Star were kept on Scarif, so there were backup plans nowhere near the actual base itself. So, as weird as it sounds, like, it seems like they just learned from the mistake.
Yeah.
So when they're going about another massive project, they're keeping backups of stuff off world. Whereas, obviously Tantus, if they had kept a backup of stuff off world somewhere, be a different conversation.
Yeah.
Right? Whereas you can actually see that, like, Tarkin, for being evil, is not dumb.
No.
So I mean, I see that going, here is what we learned from this mistake. So all of these funds are going to be diverted from this cloning project to Stardust, which is the Death Star. And here's what we're going to do as a failsafe.
Yeah, I could see
right?
it. Yeah.
I mean, it's not very sexy, but
yeah,
like to
but
me,
still,
it makes sense.
Yeah, the loss of the cloning, or the acknowledgement that there was nothing recovered, kind of bothers me. Because the other part too is in the first episode, right? We get Palpatine getting marched into the vault, and he gets shown something in the vault.
Yeah,
and he says, what you're doing here is of utmost importance to the Empire. We all assume it was a Palpatine clone or something similar, but we never ever actually get confirmation. And then I don't think the Zilla base, did the Zilla base just crush? I don't it. It doesn't look like it. It broke containment, climbed straight out, and blew through the hangar. So you'd think those developed Emperor projects would still be viable, But when Tarkin rolls in, he's just like scuttle the facility, like, or like I don't know. We see a bunch of shuttles and cargo craft coming in and going. It's like maybe they scraped it down and took everything valuable and left, but
Yeah.
they acknowledge like all the cloning data, like all the data was destroyed. Like, so it's almost like they came there for the one thing, but they didn't get it. So again, I find it odd that Tantus had all this stuff and they just kind of didn't really acknowledge they got anything out of it.
Remember though, the goal was to tie the show off. As much
I
as people
know,
like you and I would love to see these nuggets here and there.
But we know that stuff continues in the future though. Like give us a
fair.
little something that would keep it going.
I was hoping for something at the end.
Yeah.
Like when it was over, I was like, is there more? Is there more? Like just give me a nugget of something, how we know where this picks up from, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. So you and me, and I think everyone else had theorized how this episode was going to go.
Yep.
We thought they were going to get in trouble. Rex and the boys were going to show up, storm the facility. You thought Ventress was going to be coming back again.
Legit. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then I think we agreed. Well, you got this part right. You forever had said they're going to end on Pabu, like as a retired family. And then I think I brought you to the other side. We're like, no, they're all going to die.
Yeah.
And not only does not one person dies, and they literally all end on Pabu.
Yeah.
Which was to me, like that was, I think they were setting things like it was almost like a subverted people's expectations. Cause I think a lot of people thought no one was making out of it. And then they turn around and kind of everyone makes it out of it.
Like I was waiting for Crosshair to be the only one left.
Yeah. And the way the story was going, like it really felt like this was Crosshair's story. Like he was kind of the main piece. He even said like, you two go to the communications or whatever, and I'm going to go in and handle it. I'm the only one who knows. I have to do this because I have a debt to pay. Like he was very much in self-sacrifice mode.
Oh, yeah, big time.
And he makes it out.
Yep. Yeah, so, there's definitely an element of disappointment there for sure.
Yeah, like I don't know. Like is it disappointment or is it just because I was expecting that and didn't get it? Like you'd think like everyone's surviving, everyone would be happy. Like I'd be happy about it, but I don't know.
Yeah, I mean the story's tied off well because their fighting days are done. I am absurdly disappointed that there was no Rex.
Yeah, and like not even
I wanted a nugget there big time.
But. Yeah, there's he only got a name drop when the shuttle with the kids. So they go to these coordinates. I think he said, or no, he's told someone to get a message out to Rex. I can't remember.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah.
For Echo, whatever, to get a signal out to Rex or for someone to get in there and get it out to him. So I thought we'd see him at some point, but nothing.
Yeah, like even in like that little post-credit thing, like have him come up and be like acknowledge like what's going on. So we get no resolution with his little clone thing going on and all the stuff with Senator Tucci. None of that stuff. Let me see what else we got here. So let's talk about the end, right? They all survive. It's happy. And then we get a little epilogue. Is that what you'd call it?
Yep. At the end, epilogue. I loved the flash forward. Loved it.
Yeah.
Very rarely when something comes to an end, do you get that kind of closure.
Yeah.
So good. Even though it's not necessarily the ending we all wanted, it was so good to have it.
Yeah, I thought they did a good job aging her up.
Yeah.
I got a couple little complaints.
I'm waiting.
Her voice, I felt, was still the same as, you know what I mean? If she's about to join the rebellion and the Bad Batch is right over, like she must have aged like 10 plus years, I would think.
I would think so.
And like she still had that little kid voice. I know it's hard with the you're not going to bring in a different voice actress, but like put a little like filter or something on it. You know what I mean?
Well, how much different did you sound from the age of? Never mind. That's probably a bad example. From your 13 to 23.
Yeah. Again, minor gripe. I understand why they did it, but like when you see her kind of growing up taller and like
it was like wild.
And then it's like all of a sudden she had like that still innocent child Omega voice. The one thing I thought was interesting, she's going off to join the rebellion as a pilot. If I had to theorize what Omega would do when she grew up, a rebel pilot was not what I would have picked or
No, me
thought
neither.
of. Yeah. So did you like that she's going off to join the rebellion as a pilot? Did it just seem odd?
I mean, joining as a pilot and what you end up doing is not always the same thing, right?
Yeah, true.
I mean, the rebellion is always in search of pilots.
Yeah. And
That's always been a thing.
And a lot of them die.
Yeah. Yeah. Not all of them can be the super you love so much.
Was it disappointed that she didn't pursue force training or anything like that? Because we talked about would Ventress take her on to protect her?
Yep. Yeah, I found that disappointing. My biggest disappointment at the end, and it's so cheesy and so stupid, is that it was only Hunter.
Oh, yeah.
That's it.
The other guys are.
I wanted the other two at the very end after she waved and got up. Like, I wanted the other two to show up. Again, gripe, minor.
Yeah.
Big miss.
I could see one of them there.
It wasn't about Hunter. It was about all of them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely about all of them. If I had to counter you at all, and I'm not saying necessarily 100% believe this, it's that Hunter and Omega seem to have fewer and fewer moments together. It's always been Omega Crosshair, Omega Tech, Omega Wrecker. Like, I felt like her and Hunter, you thought were like season 1, right? That seemed like it was like the dad-daughter relationship.
Always.
And then they didn't really focus on it all that much, right? So it was nice that those two got closure. But yeah, if that's your final shot, at least have the other two like walking in or something like that.
Yeah.
And like just have one last line.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then as far as the force thing, I'm okay with it. I don't think just because someone has force sensitivity, they automatically have to train.
Fair.
But I thought this is where it ties into, which is more of my gripe, is just because the data is destroyed, they just assume, oh, Omega, you're automatically safe now.
Yeah, you're fine now.
You're not in their data bank. You're telling me like no one else, like no personnel knew that Omega was the key to all the cloning, and Palpatine wouldn't know that. Yeah, that's the only thing that I thought was a bit of a stretch.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because I literally just talked about last week how if she survives, she's literally on like Palpatine's hit list of people to find. She's like in that top 5, and now he doesn't even know she exists now, or like not even concerned about her.
Seems unlikely.
Yeah, with how important that project was, you'd seem like he would be on top of Hemlock. Like, give me the details. How's this working? Like stuff like that.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's fair.
Yeah. So that to me was the one of my bigger kind of not sure how I felt about it. I think that's it I had for my notes. I got one last one for you. Well, okay, how about I got 2 for you then. So immediate reaction, where do you slot the Bad Batch in versus Clone Wars versus Rebels? I know it's probably too early, but
unfortunately 3rd.
Yeah, I'm the same.
I mean, Clone Wars is Clone Wars, period. Rebels was so sneaky. Bad Batch was fantastic. I think if they'd have nailed it season 2, I would have slotted them in between Clone Wars.
Yeah, it's
and
a really.
Rebels.
Yeah.
I mean, you're never going to touch Clone Wars from an animated property. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, weak season 2, but it's not to say it's bad. I absolutely love Rebels and Clone Wars, and Bad Batch was great.
Yeah,
I very much enjoyed it. And we've kind of talked about where they go from now. Like, now that we've seen this epilogue, if they do have a new animated show that kind of is like the next time span between now and say Obi-Wan Kenobi and Andor, does it? We kind of thought maybe. Well, a lot of the thought was is going to be Ventress and potentially, what's his name? I don't know why I'm blanking on his name.
Dooku?
No. The Jedi. Why am I blanking on him?
Her significant other.
About it. Yeah.
Oh my god. Oh Jesus!
It's gonna drive me nuts.
His name's literally on the tip of my tongue.
anyways, we thought that was going to be it, but I don't see. I think Omega's done with that story now.
Yeah.
Like they're done with Omega. Like
Yeah.
that's
It's over.
this
And
show is very much
they should just leave it.
Oh, Quinlan Voss.
That's right.
I don't know why I couldn't think of that. So I think she's done. They don't have to touch her as a rebel pilot. Like there's shows on the Rebellion. I don't know, but it'd be wild if she shows up in Andor live action though. Now I'm thinking about it.
Yeah.
But no, Andor's already been filmed. There's no, I doubt it. But yeah, so if it is Ventress and Voss, and they're focusing on the path and protecting the Jedi and getting the Jedi to safety, that could be interesting. But then again, it kind of ignores the Rex and his clone effort as well. So yeah,
I'm okay with that. In my opinion,
true.
you can leave Rex and the clones until they're on dad bod patrol on an old AT-AT in the middle of the desert. Like that's fine. But I'll be curious to see if they do something with Ventress and Quinlan Voss and what they do with the next animated property. And I hope they leave Omega out of it, or I hope they cross paths in one episode and that's it.
Yeah.
And just call it a day.
Yeah. But I think, for the most part, I think Omega's done. We don't need to see any more about her. And especially with her being a rebel pilot, to try to fit her into the Rebellion storyline, which we already have Rebels. We already have, obviously, the original trilogy. We got everything. It's just so hard. So they just got to leave it at that.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts or comments on the finale?
None. It's just weird. It's just weird. It's over.
Yeah. Let's rate it. What do you got?
I went first last time, so you're up.
Well, it's not a 9 for me, but was it the best episode of the season, though? I think you have to say it was. It had all the emotional beats, even though it didn't quite end the way I was anticipating. I still very much enjoyed it. Like I was just, anytime I saw them all together reunited, like I just probably had a grin on my face.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go a solid 8.
I'm literally between 8.7 and 8.8.
Yeah, that's what I was going back and forth in my mind.
Yeah, it was outstanding, and not everything has to go the way that we want it to. It's obviously okay that it doesn't.
And like when they kill, when they kill off Tech, everyone's like, "Oh my god, I can't believe you do that, Tech! Tech's my boy."
Yeah.
And now we keep them all alive. We're like, "Oh, why didn't you kill anybody?" So I get it. Like I feel like I should be happier with them keeping them alive.
Yeah.
And like just another shout out. I love that Omega had Tech's glasses on her ship as she was leaving.
So good.
Yeah. They just
so good.
Honor him whenever they can. So poor Techie.
Yeah, no, I thought it was a solid 8.7, 8.8. I'm gonna go 8.7. And it could have been 9 if it sounds so stupid, but it could have been 9 if they'd have showed me who was under the mask of those crazy assassins.
Yeah, that was
like that to me would have been an over the top maker for sure.
That was a bit of a miss. And I think, the Zillo Beast is nice and all, and I know it was a plot line from an earlier thing, but if I told you, would you rather have the Zillo Beast break out, causing all the wreckage to get them in, or would you rather have Rex showing up with all the other clones?
Oh,
I think
Rex.
Everyone would rather Rex.
Hands
that
down.
would have been
the Zillo Beast was very random.
Yeah,
like you have a random Zillo Beast, which has nothing to do with cloning, in a tank of water.
Yeah. Well, they're doing their experiments and stuff there, right?
So, yeah. No, that's fair.
But yeah, like again, it wasn't completely out of the blue because they set it up. We knew they transferred that little baby Zillo Beast there.
Yep.
But yeah, to have it to be the main driver of kind of how they save Omega, right? Which I thought was, I think if they went that other way, maybe it would have been a little higher, but I respect how they chose to do it. And at the end of the day, right? Like we want all these other cameos and people in there, but at the end of the day, the story really was about, Clone Force 99. right? The Bad Batch.
Absolutely. And it
And
could have gotten large and out of control. And
yeah,
I don't hate that it didn't.
yeah, they kept it smaller scale, which I can't really be mad at that, because
God, no.
we got more time with, well, and plus it's our last time seeing them, right? We got more time with the Bad Batch. So
Yep.
yeah. So I think that's it.
So now what?
Tales of the Empire this weekend.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Comes out, is it Saturday? Is Saturday
May the 4th. Yeah, May the 4th.
I'm even off Saturday.
Nice. We will we will be broadcasting sometime this weekend our
Yep.
thoughts on Tales of the Empire.
Yep.
Let us know in the comments what you felt of this finale. And we'll see you on the weekend, everyone. Peace out.